Welcome to Ladies Kicking Ass. I'm your host, Tanya Wilson, and I'm crazy passionate about encouraging women to tell their hard-earned stories, provide coaching and creative ideas to help you build the service business of your dreams. What's different about this podcast? Well, we are real, and that means most of us are trying to juggle all the things. Being an entrepreneur, mama, wife, sister, friend, doggy mama, and all those other titles that we love. This life is a dance, and we celebrate every twist, step, and dip along the way. This show chats about our wins, our losses, business, relationships, family, and how to get the hell out of our own way and believe in ourselves and our big ideas. The Ladies Kickin' Ass community is full of strong, generous women who support, mentor, and cheer for each other. So, come on, let's get inspired and learn something new today. Welcome to the Ladies Kickin' Ass podcast. Hello, ladies, and welcome back to another episode of Ladies Kickin' Ass. Today, I am joined with my friend and incredible bookkeeper, money financial extraordinaire, Tiffany Brantner. So welcome, Tiffany.
Thanks so much for having me, Tanya.
And we are going to have a fun conversation today about numbers, which don't stop listening to that because Tiffany is full of all kinds of good information that will help it make it easier for you to keep track of your numbers, all the good stuff. But first of all, because this is a podcast about ladies, tell us a little bit about yourself, why you got into this, and what your business is.
Thanks so much for that introduction. And for having me. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm excited to jump in and have a little chat. So other than the numbers part, I am a mom of three. I have a 5-year-old girl, a 3-year-old boy, and a almost 10-month-old little guy. So I'm a mom of three, a wife, and when I'm not working, which isn't my whole life, I like to go swing dancing. That's something I've done for a really long time. I watch true crime documentaries and bake. So that might be a little bit cliche on the whole thing, but that's what I like to do when I have free time.
There is something like embedded into women that is like, it's like an addiction to those things. Like my office manager, Sophie, will be like, oh, I listen to this true crime podcast. I'm like, if I start that, I'm not going to be able to stop. I can't even get into it.
It's like, we aren't scared enough. So let me just scare myself. I don't know. It's probably why I'm scared to walk to my car late at night. But
I think it makes us more aware. You're more aware.
Maybe, I don't know, but I love it.
It also frightens our husbands a little bit. So my husband's always like, watching this again? I think a lot of my cousins that are female will talk about we all have this crazy crime show bloodline or something, that all the guys are like, why do you watch this? You're like, you just never know.
You just need to know what happens out there.
We're making ourselves aware. Cool. So tell us about your business and why you started your business.
Sure. I mean, so I was not always in accounting. That's one thing, which is maybe surprising to some people, because why would you just start doing that randomly? I was not even a math person in school, which is another surprising fact. But I worked for a corporate company for a really long time. It was a startup when I went in, and it was kind of small, and I did a lot of different things and loved it for a while. And then they got bought out, and it really changed the whole dynamic of the company. But I stayed loyal because I was comfortable. That was a big part of it. And I started having my kids, and I needed safety, but I wasn't really happy there. And I didn't really think I could do better. That was honestly the truth, is that I had been told that like my whole life, I just needed to work really, really hard at the job that I had, and I would be able to grow. And that just really wasn't true for me. I was definitely a man's industry. I was one of the very few females that worked in the industry. We would go to a conference every year in Vegas, and it was like the only women that were there for like eye candy, let's be real. And so it's just very weird being a female in an industry and just going in with all the optimism of like, I can do whatever I want to do. I know that if I had a really good work ethic, I did a great job. But I never, like, I would just kept hitting a ceiling, no matter how hard I tried, how hard I like proved myself. And so, but I was comfortable. So going back to that, and I was safe, kind of, or I thought I was. And I had my kids, and thankfully I had a pretty great boss, and he like gave me some flexibility to work from home before COVID kind of made that cool. And so I kept staying, and I just said, well, I guess this is just what I need to do because it's a job, and I don't know that I can't get better anywhere else. And then we moved, and I put my kids in daycare, and I wasn't super happy about that, but it's what I had to do, right? And I got laid off. So like out of the blue, got laid off without any warning after I was told how valuable I was, how much they appreciated me. It wasn't even my boss's decision. It was somebody overseas that just blind budget cut everybody. And I was devastated and scared, and had to pick myself up, and went through a lot of moments of fear and refinding, like, you know, myself in a way, and knew I needed to find something. I needed to help provide for my family. My husband had just started a new job in a new state. And I was terrified, honestly. And I took on, I was actually in, I think, final rounds for a full-time job, and it was not what I wanted. They were going to mean the bare minimum of what I asked for. And then the kicker was, I asked, you know, what their time off, you know, I had 2 kids at the time. What's your PTO look like? Oh, you get 10 days a year. And I was like, oh, and how many sick days? And they're like, oh, that includes your sick days. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. Like, my kids get sick more than that. like I will never have a vacation. You're not paying me enough to like sacrifice. I'll never see my kids. I'll be gone 10 hours a day with a mandatory hour lunch. And I was like, this is not for me. And so I really stopped and asked myself what I wanted. What do I want? And I knew that I didn't want to sell things. And I knew I was really good at organizing information, and I was really good at being detail oriented. And I did a little bit of accounting in college, but really it came down to like, what do I want to do? And what do I want out of life? And I wanted to have freedom and flexibility to be there for my family. And I wanted to make people's lives better. Like, I knew that whatever I wanted to do, I wanted to contribute to what they did and make their lives easier, better in some way. So I came across bookkeeping, and it checked all the boxes for me. So I basically worked my ass off, and went back to school. Essentially.
That's the point of this podcast.
Yeah. I knew that this is what it was the right fit for me. It took a huge leap. I told my husband, I'm unemployed, but I'm going to go through this. I'm going to get certified. I'm going to go through, and I'm going to really do this thing. He supported me. And I don't know why he did. And so, yeah. And I did, I think I think I did the whole track of what I was supposed to do in business launching. There was they had a plan laid out, and I think I did it in half the time because I treated it like my full-time job, and I really went after it. And it has been the best thing I've ever done. And I have no regrets. And I tell people now that I don't think I'm not employable anymore. Like, I love working with my clients, and I love it. It's great. And I love being able to show my kids what that you can do whatever you want, that you can have what you want. And so this for me has been a journey, not just about, yes, the bookkeeping. I love doing that part, and I'm good at it, but I really, really, really love the whole, it's changed me as a person, the whole process, and just knowing that like you can do whatever you put your mind to, and there's not a ceiling, and I don't have to be in that box anymore. So that's my story. Maybe not what you're expecting from a bookkeeper, but this is where I'm at. And yeah,
so much better. In fact, I wrote it down because that is a good one. Because, you know, like I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, one of my biggest fears is having to go get a job somewhere. Like if and having someone dictate where my time is spent and how it is spent.
Yeah.
Like that petrifies me. So when you said I'm not employable anymore, that should just be the mantra of this group.
Yeah. And I mean, if I had to get a job, I know that I'm way more like I could, right? Yeah. I could, but I don't want to. And I don't like, it doesn't mean I don't have pressure, right? Like my clients, I care way more about the work that I do now than I ever did as an employee. So there's the other side of that where there's a lot of pressure there. And I put in a lot of work, but I love it. And I'm building something that I'm excited about. And I'm building something that my kids get to see me build and hopefully be part of as they get a little bit bigger. They're too little right now, but, and I mean, like you inspire me, like with your daughter, and like you're helping her start her business at 12. Like, that's amazing. Like she is growing up with a foundation of just like we talked about, just no limits, and being able to, this whatever she wants to do, she can do whatever she wants, and that's beautiful.
It's thank you for that. It is so cool to what I love so much about this podcast. And I'll be real honest with you, like I know I was talking to you about launching this thing forever ago, and like when it very first started, and I kept telling one of my business coaches, I was like, I want to interview women on my podcast, but I have like this massive like imposter syndrome of like who the hell am I to be this person? Who the hell am I to tell these people stories? You know, like, why are they going to want to talk to me about this stuff? So and then you get these stories out, and we keep having these conversations. And the people that I have interviewed have been so very different from each other. And it's so incredibly beautiful to see the transition of the story that you just told, because I think it is so true for so many women. You started that story by saying, I had to have a job and this was safety to me.
Yeah.
And then you get to experience entrepreneurship and being in charge of your own life. And now that what you thought was safety is almost like your worst nightmare now. And it is fascinating to me to see the change in women with things like that, because I know that's something that, like, my husband came on board and works with our septic company now. But his big thing is like, well, you know, it's the safety of the paycheck. It's the safety of this. It's the safety of this. But he worked in the restoration industry as an estimator. That's like a freaking football coach. It's not like when you're going to get cut or if, it's when, you know, like if it's slow season, they're not going to keep on the guy that estimates the jobs that aren't there, you know? So it's been fascinating to watch even his journey of things like that, and like realizing the safetiness is in your own ability to make shit happen. It truly is. So sky's the limit. No one's signing my paycheck anymore. I get to decide how many.
And even beyond that, I think that it changes. Like we've been programmed or taught that these are the things that are safe. And I don't think we even realize that a lot of those things aren't actually for our best. Like, I think I've learned in this process to, you know, I've always thought being afraid was a bad thing. And it isn't. Like anytime you're doing something, there's a book, I don't know if you've read it, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. You need to read this book. Okay. And I will not quote it verbatim because I'm not good at that. Would be my husband remembers everything verbatim. But basically the gist of some of the things she said is that anytime you're doing something that's new or you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, that you will be afraid. Yeah. And the only way to get past that fear is to do it anyway.
Mm.
And so I think that I have learned to live with fear. But I can't tell you how many times I've told my husband, there's no way I could do this, and he's like, and then you figure it out. So everything is figure outable, and just unlocking the reality that everything is figure outable, and fear is part of the process. And I now have learned to accept it with open arms and just live with it. And it's okay, because it's almost like a welcome thing, because I know that means I'm doing something that is pushing me, that's hard, and that is going to lead me to a different place that I think I want to be. So yeah.
You conquer that. That's the big thing with like starting your own business too, is like you conquer one fear and another one's right up behind it. But the beautiful thing about that is like you grow when you go through that fear, it's not as scary the next time.
You grow. Something else will be scary. So there's always something that's scary, but you're growing. If you stop being scared, it means you've probably grown complacent. And I try to tell people, that are just starting in their businesses, that are like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm like, yes, you can. And you have to do it. And so, because otherwise you will never grow, and you will be in that place that I thought was safe so many years ago, where I thought was safe. And really I was dying inside, and I hated it. And I was not living my best. I wasn't living in alignment with who I was and who I wanted to be. And it's definitely not who I want my kids to grow up to like emulate. So even though there's a lot of struggles and it's a lot of hard work now, I'm happy with where I'm headed. So feel the fear and do it anyway.
Feel the fear and do it anyways. I love that. That's another good one. I find it very interesting too, like you have said, with like, I'm comfortable. And I think many people get to this comfortable place, and you can call it complacency or comfortable or whatever it is, I wonder how many of them, once they step outside of that comfort zone, really realize I have so many women that are like, I was so comfortable and I realized that I was like miserable.
Yeah,
because it's almost like,
and then
you can't go back, but you don't know how to go forward. So
you're still scared. You're still scared of losing that thing. I know I was miserable, and I was scared of losing the thing that made me miserable. It made no sense. It made no sense.
Yeah. That is, oh my gosh, it's so true. So true. It's one of those things that like, just do it, just jump and just try. Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't work, then you learned a lesson,
I mean, it's totally, I would not say do it blindly, right? Like you definitely want to calculate and plan and run your numbers and run your plan and have all that thought through and I talked to, can't tell you how many people before I launched my business, and sought counsel and all that stuff. But I weighed everything. I ran my numbers. I was like, I can do this. I am capable. And then I just did it. Right. But yeah, so definitely do your homework. I'm not saying blindly do it, but still, you just gotta, at some point, you just have to do it. At some point, there's no amount of planning that's going to make it the perfect time. It's kind of like having a baby. There's never perfect time.
You know what is always funny, to me with women, I'm always like, remember when you had your first baby and you had a birth plan? And then you get to the hospital and all of the nurses laughed at you because they know how many times that birth plan has actually worked out. That's like starting a business. You can have a business plan, but the odds are that thing's actually going to go through the way you think it is slim to none. And everybody that started a business, when you tell them your plan of how this is all going to turn out, is going to laugh like those nurses did, because they know it's coming. But that's a beautiful thing, to be able to have those people around you to help guide you through that when that does happen. And that is the whole purpose of this community and of this podcast, is so that we can be there as a resource tool for people that may be starting or maybe in business for a long time. We worked together for a while with one of my companies, and Tiffany has so many good, just like little pointer things and stuff like that that you can implement inside of your own business. And really, if you think about financial stuff, like if you own a business, you better be implementing this stuff in your own personal financial situation too, because they are very closely, although very separate, right?
Yes, good, good. She knows. She's
Very
heard the
separate,
spiel.
or they better be anyway. She'll tell you that they better be. They will coincide with each other a lot because they depend on each other. So, as a great little segue with that, if you are giving advice to a new business owner or someone that's thinking about going into business, or perhaps maybe a seasoned business person that their financials are just out of whack, what are some of the top things that people should pay attention to or be aware of as far as their bookkeeping practices go?
I mean, on a very, very like simple, but actually not so simple level is first, I think having books is a good start. And a lot of businesses don't. You
Yeah.
wouldn't believe how many businesses I've started, they finally reach out and they're like, yeah, I've been in business for however long, and they've never kept a set of books. So it's very simple. Whatever it is, it when you start a business, you wear like all of the hats, right? And you kind of have to, you have to bootstrap it a little bit, but and even if you're bootstrapping it, I really recommend that you use some sort of accounting software, whether it is QuickBooks or whether it is Wave or something that will help you organize that data. And a large part of that is because almost all of those softwares are going to bring in your data at a minimum, and you're not going to be manually doing this in a spreadsheet. So just like let technology work for you a little bit. So I would say, even if you're doing it yourself, have a set of books. And if you don't know what you're doing in accounting, which most people, haven't done any accounting, you either need to decide if you're going to do your own books, you need to do some studying, you need to do some research to learn it, or you need to hire somebody that will teach you how to do it. That really is it, because I can't tell you how many, or just hire somebody to do it at the beginning, because if you don't and you try to halfway do it, you're going to have to pay somebody to clean it up. So
Yep.
that's pretty much it. Like, I wish that I could just say that anybody can do bookkeeping. And I think that QuickBooks likes to make people think that anybody can do their bookkeeping, because they make a lot of money on that mindset of like, yeah, look, the software will let me just tell you, QuickBooks will make bad suggestions because they are a computer and not a person, and they don't know your business. So yeah, you either need to put in some work and watch some YouTube videos, which there's a lot of great free resources out there, or you need to bring somebody in to help you, even if you're trying to bootstrap at the beginning. But beyond that, if you're really ready to have somebody jump in and do it for you, they're definitely not all bookkeepers, not all accountants, not all of anybody is created equal. And I really think that, there's some things that you need to look out for when you're thinking about hiring someone. Just like with anything, if you're hiring in your industry and trades, you can't just hire anybody. You have some criteria you got to meet. So, I mean, I think one of the things, the biggest complaints that I hear when people come to me and maybe they've had a bookkeeper before, the number one reason that I hear people wanting to leave that person is because they complain that the prior bookkeeper or accountant never responded to them, didn't get them reports. And so I would say a really important thing is you find somebody that is responsive. It's actually going to talk to you.
Yes.
I don't know if that is that you found that in your in your experience, but that is by far the biggest complaint that I get from people is my bookkeeper never contacts me. They never email me back. I can't reach them. I've never seen my reports. I have no idea. I'm like, why are you paying someone to do this for you if you're not getting anything back from them? Makes no sense to me.
Yes. Yes. And on the other side of that, because this is something that we had together in this, that as a crazy business owner coming back at that whole thing, a lot of times too, the responsiveness starts with us. And we need to communicate to our bookkeepers, one, whatever documents they need in order to do their job. Give them access to whatever they need to do their job. You can't expect them to pull all of this stuff out of thin air and be like, ta-da, you have numbers, when you're not putting it in, either creating invoices for your customers, putting in payments, doing the things, like, of course, there is a resource to help you at the end of the day with everything, but you have to provide what is happening inside of your business to them. So look in the mirror first before you just start criticizing the bookkeeper, because I have heard people say that before in coaching people. Well, my bookkeeper or my CPA, or they think they got to have this big crazy tax accountant, whatever.
Wizard.
I'm like, yes, you're paying for a wizard, a money wizard, and you're giving them dirt down here. Like, first of all, you don't need a money wizard. You need a bookkeeper at your level here. You don't need to be going up to here. If you're not getting communication from people, who did you hire to start with? Which is a great question that I have for you, that I run into a lot with coaching people whenever it comes down to numbers and things. When do you hire a bookkeeper versus an accountant, or versus a CPA, or what is the difference? Or I got to have a big old tax person, like.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of address the bookkeeper versus tax person, because there's a very clear distinction there. And the distinction is, one does taxes and the other does not. Okay. So, and then there's, once you get into the tax level side, there's different levels of certifications, and they're not all created equal. Okay. But I try to think of it like this. And the analogy that I like to use is kind of in a medical world, right? So if you've got surgeons, you've got your high level, medical professional, right? Maybe they're in a very specific specialty. And then you've got like your nurses and your nurse practitioner. You kind of got this tiered group of medical professionals. If you only went to a surgeon when you had a major operation, like, you're probably not that healthy. Let's just be honest. Like, if you're only having to go when you have to undergo the knife, like, that's not a good thing, right? If you want to know how healthy you are, like, you're going to be going to the doctor regularly and getting a physical. You're going to be seeing nurses or a nurse practitioner. A bookkeeper is kind of that level, right? Where they're going to help you keep things in order. They're going to help you know how healthy you are from a financial perspective. They're going to help you stay organized and know what you need to do. A good bookkeeper is going to tell you, you know what, you need to, just like a good nurse, you need to go for a jog. You need to cut out some certain, you need to cut out this fluff. You need to, let's zone in and look at this area. You're spending a lot here. We need to figure out ways to increase your revenue. So a good bookkeeper is going to kind of help you see those things on a much more granular level, and on a regular level. So not just once a year, monthly, quarterly, to look at those numbers and know where you're at. So that's the first big differentiation between like a bookkeeper and an accountant. And a bookkeeper is also going to help you be ready for taxes, which is the thing that everybody's really worried about. I know that they just think that bookkeeping is for taxes, but if you're thinking of it that way, you're really missing out on like a huge piece of data that's going to help you run your business. And then, once you get into the accountant side, people that do the taxes, we'll just call them those. You've got a lot of different tiers. You've got CPAs, which is kind of the highest level of certification kind of within the accounting world. And then you've got EAs, which are more small business focused tax professionals. And then you just got tax professionals, which they're not EAs or CPAs, but they still can file taxes. And depending on what your needs are in it as a business, really any of those could be a good fit for you. But you really, I can't tell you exactly without knowing what the specific situation is, but if you're a certain type of industry that needs certain types of financial reports, a CPA might be the best fit for you. If you're just wanting to file your taxes, just a tax professional or or small business, like an EA could be a really good fit. So it just kind of varies on what your needs are, but they're not all created equal.
Sure.
So to answer your question.
Yes, it's awesome. Ask questions, it's like one of those things where when I have talked to businesses, they're like, oh, it's too expensive. Having somebody do my books is too expensive. It just like runs. I see people that have like, they literally run their business off of how much money's in their bank account. And that's how healthy they are. That's just what they have learned with things like that.
Yeah.
As far as keeping track of books so that you actually have some, like you started the conversation with, ask questions for bookkeepers. You can find bookkeepers that are only going to be a couple $100 a month if you've got a smaller business that still know what they're doing, correct?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, even then you can, there's a lot of free resources out there. I mean, honestly, social media, you can find so much information, but the one cautionary thing is that I see a lot of bad advice out there. And I see a lot of bad books coming from other bookkeepers, unfortunately. So there is that caveat of I do think that there's a sense of you do get what you pay for a little bit. And I know that that's cliche and people don't like to maybe hear that, but you really want to find someone that, we talked about responsiveness, but someone that's going to be involved and be proactive to follow up with you is really important. That they're going to, when they haven't heard from you, then they're not just going to go, oh, well, ball's in their court, I'm just going to leave the financials unfinished. No, they're going to follow up and be like, no, we have to get this right. Like if your bookkeeper is not doing that, they're probably not paying that much attention. And that is a red flag, right? So, that is unfortunately, you have to do a little bit of, asking, do your homework on that person, just like you would anyone else. Do they have reviews? Like what kind of training do they have? How do they ask good questions? I feel like that's a really good in most things. What kind of questions are they asking you about your business? Do they have a handle on your history?
Are they wanting to know what your goals are in your business? That's a big deal for me because like, do you care where I'm going with this? Or are you just like, if they don't ask any questions, how do you know, like, I want to buy a truck at the end of this year. How can I better plan for this? And you can have conversations with them about things. Yeah. If you feel like you can't ask them questions, it's not the right person for you. And I love what you say about like, educate yourself a little bit. I'm a big proponent of educate yourself in as much as you possibly can about your business. We were talking about this before we hit record on this thing that I have a little sign in my office that says, just because you can doesn't mean you should, like you can, that doesn't mean that you should be the one that is doing that. But if I'm going to send it out somewhere else, I know enough to ask intelligent questions to not get burned by somebody outside of the business with that. Yeah. Whether that be your marketing practices, your bookkeeping, any of that stuff. A good bookkeeper will sit down with you and say, this is what I'm doing, and provide some education for you. Right. You should have to pay for that if it's good education, or it be part of whatever the services that person is providing for you. But ask them questions, because people that are truly passionate about helping others and passionate about growing their business, education is a selling tool for them. So if they're not utilizing that, that's where my second guess would be as to if they had my best interest at heart, or if I was just a number to them. Yeah. And I think that that is really important. Like if I just sent financial reports to my clients and was like, here you go, done. Mm-hmm. Like I would not be doing them justice, because they won't tell me, but they might not. Maybe some people will, but I think most business owners feel like they already should know everything, and you don't have to know everything. You don't know everything. And it's okay to say what you don't know. And in this case, I know this part and I can help you. So I'm not only going to just give you financials, I'm going to walk through them with you. And I'm going to say, I want to explain what this report means. Like, what is a balance sheet? Like, what is a statement of cash flows? What does this mean for your business? So that you actually understand your numbers. Having them is just one thing, but understanding them is
like the difference between you making good and bad decisions. And so like a bookkeeper that actually cares and is invested, do they actually care about what you're doing? I think that's really important. And I mean, do you like them? Like, this is someone that you have to be like interacting with a lot. Like you said, this is not somewhere you drop a bunch of information on this person. Your bookkeeper is someone that you are partnering with. They're working with you in your business for your best interest. And you have to like working with them. If you don't like them, it's going to be really uncomfortable. Like, so, that makes it a little bit more challenging, but you have to like be able to trust this person, because they're dealing with your money and helping with that. And so finding someone that's relatable, that's trustworthy, and that you like working with is really, really important. I think not just in bookkeeping, but also in bookkeeping and accounting. So, and yeah, just like you said, they're going to teach you, and they're not going to make you feel dumb for asking questions. I don't think any questions are dumb. Like when people are asking, well, that's not true. Some questions are dumb, but not in related to bookkeeping. I feel like all my clients, if they apologize sometimes, oh, I'm so sorry for asking. I'm like, no, like, this is my job to know this. You hired me so that you can understand it. Like, and that's what I'm here for. And they shouldn't feel stupid for asking that. So, and I mean, I think the other piece of this, that I give caution to people that are wanting to do it themselves, which I totally respect that. I get it. And I know that there's a place where you just can't quite outsource it, and you do the best you can, do something, right? And I recommend doing some sort of training. Definitely reconcile your books. If you don't know how to reconcile your books, make sure you learn how to reconcile your books, because if you don't, you're gonna like you need to reconcile your books. You won't know if everything's right otherwise. But the other piece of this is that technology is great. And I think that it's very easy to see all of these integrated things with your POS or your point of sale, and everything can integrate with QuickBooks. And you should automate, but don't do it. Don't be quick. Don't do it automatically. And this is where finding a bookkeeper that is tech savvy, that is in the 21st century, is going to be really helpful for you, because they're going to know, it's a lot easier for someone that's in the industry regularly dealing with this stuff. They're going to be able to catch up on integrating things automatically and making technology work in your business a lot better than you are. And that's just the reality. Because not all apps are created equal. You can connect something and make a huge mess. Ask me how I know. So I think that finding someone that knows how to use technology, that will help you enter in your business into the 21st century is a good direction to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, so much good info. And I think like one of the biggest things for me as a business owner is like, know your numbers. If you're a fan of Shark Tank, they eat people alive on that show and they ask them questions and they don't know their numbers. How can you run a business if you don't know what your numbers are? Like, it's busy work.
In front of Mark Cuban and not have an answer. Like, I can't. I mean, I can't imagine going on that show and not have. I mean, some people I think must just go on there and go, I'm just hoping to get on here so that I can get like some marketing. Like, I think that is
really for sure.
But how embarrassing. It would be so embarrassing.
Know your numbers. And it's something as simple as like some people have been in business for 20 years and they don't know how to read a P&L and a balance sheet. They're like, how do they always equal out here? I don't understand. Like, what is this, and how to read those things. There's a million different YouTube videos that you can even watch to do some of this stuff. There's some beautiful courses that you can take from people that have taken all this information that they have. This is something you should be doing too. And they create a course out of this, and they will teach you numbers of stuff. If you are in a place where you can't afford to put this out yet, there's wonderful people to follow online for excellent material of things. And I just think that is something that you cannot afford not to either be educating yourself or paying someone that can help educate you on this, because the quickest way to not having a business is not paying attention to your numbers.
And I think that, it's really, this is one of those things that you don't just guess and try to figure out. And there's two prongs to this. Like, yes, you have to know the accounting side of things. And yes, there's also resources, but be prepared to invest a good amount of time learning it. Same with the software, whatever software you go in with, that's a whole nother thing. Like how that software works. Do you know how to, yes, you can get training on it. So then you got to make the decision. What is your time worth? If I can go and do something else to grow my business and make money, is that a better use of my time? Or do I really need to be spending 20, 40, 60 hours learning how to do this the right way? So that's, this is the decision we have to make with pretty much every facet of our businesses. And we all come to it at different points in their journeys, but definitely don't just go in and try to do whatever QuickBooks tells you to do and guess. Just don't do that. That's what.
Yes. One of the best things you can do as a business owner is you determine how much your time is worth.
Yep.
Because every decision that you make about should I do this or should I hire someone, it's real simple to calculate that out.
What is your time worth? Yep. And it's not even just what your time is worth. I think you always think of the revenue point of it, which definitely matters. But like you have other parts of your life that are important and valuable. And like, what is it worth for you to be able to have time with your kids? What is your time worth to be able to go on a vacation with your family? What is your time worth to do to take care of yourself? These are things that are also valuable. And so,
yes, which is another great segue. Gosh, this is like coming together like beautiful cue cards almost. Okay, so you're busy doing all this stuff, great information about all the books and helping people try to navigate where they're at. The best thing is like take an evaluation of that whole thing and start from there. But you have to take evaluation of all the other things that are going on in your life. If you're a busy mom and you have things going on all over the place, you got businesses and soccer practice and a baby and this and a husband, and they have to be entertained too. And, like you have friends and you want to spend some time with yourself, we can't make that be the bottom of the barrel. When you're a mom and you're a business owner and you're working all this stuff, prioritizing that time for yourself is so incredibly important. And we talk about this on every podcast interview that we do. How is it that you prioritize your time in your days to make sure that you have you time?
That is a great question. And I'm going to be completely honest and say that it is a struggle for me. And it is still a work in progress. This is an area where I am growing. Today, I even took, I'm in the middle of tax season. Okay. This is my busy season. And I have projects booked out. Like I pretty much can't take on anybody that isn't going to file an extension at this point. And I was like, it is a beautiful day. Well, 46 degrees where I'm at. So not super beautiful, but it's sunny. So I'm going to take that for what it is. And so my two older kids are in school during most of the week. But I have the baby at home with me, and I just, I'm obsessed with him. He's so cute. And
he is very cute.
He's so cute. And I said, me and Elijah are just going to go on a little walk today. And that is what I needed for my mind, to not feel like I was just overwhelmed and sucked in. I'm going to go get some fresh air and go on a walk with my little guy and enjoy that time with him. It makes him happy. It makes me happy. It gives me a fresh mind. And so just even those little moments of taking care of myself are ones I never regret.
Yeah.
But I think that I think that you hear work-life balance and you think that, at least I used to think that this meant that like everything was perfectly balanced all the time. And that like everything was like gonna work super smoothly. And that is like not true. I'm just gonna throw it out here. That is like not true. And I don't even think that that is what we should strive for. But I think that with work-life balance and being a business owner and a mom and all these things, the thing that is beautiful about it is that I have freedom. And I could at any point decide, I don't want to do this anymore. And I am not locked in. Like I can make those decisions to do what I need to do to care for myself and my family if I need to. I think that is the one thing that is one of my favorite things. But it doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that I always get enough sleep. I think there are seasons where I get to really focus more on taking break, spending time with family. And then there's times where I'm like, you know what, today is just going to have to be a work day. And I don't really want to do it today. But so I say the work-life balance, it's not perfectly balanced and it ebbs and flows, but I have freedom. So for me, that's what I'm learning to embrace in that.
Yes.
And trying to celebrate that for what it is, and then work on giving myself better boundaries and saying no. That's something I really have a hard time saying no, because I really like to help everybody. And I realized that I can't. And that is a moment. This is something that I am definitely working on for myself, is saying no and giving clear boundaries and not apologizing for that.
Yes.
So,
no is a complete sentence. And you don't have to justify it ever.
Yes. I was just talking to some other moms actually this week. We were talking about how to trim down our emails to stop apologizing for things that are not our fault. And it is, I don't know what it is. You're just programmed your whole life to apologize for things that you didn't, unfortunately, is a great substitute for I'm sorry, because you didn't do anything wrong, but unfortunately. So it's just like learning and deprogramming these ways of thinking where like we are, I guess, just on the hook for everything.
It's a change in the way that we have conversations too. I saw this, it was years ago. I saw this, I can't remember if it was on social media or something, but I saw this write-up that was like, instead of this, use this. And it was almost like responses to emails, because like, I'll be real honest with you. I was in Indianapolis pretty much all last week. And then I took off when I got home and took my family up to the mountains for the weekend. I haven't looked at my email for almost a week. And there is nothing in there that has made this whole planet shut down or my business
The
or
world
any
keeps
of these
turning.
things. And I will get to it tonight. I have already factored in time tonight to sit down and get on top of it. I have to, or else in my mind, I'm going to be doing this. And I'm sure there's things in there that need to be responded to. I know there's one for a fact that somebody was upset because we couldn't get to them right away. And she's like, you must be so busy. Good luck with your business. And it was just kind of snotty. So I was like, I'm not even going to respond to this right now. I'll do it later. But it's one of those things that still I'm going to respond to her tonight when I go through the emails. And it's a matter of how we talk inside of our heads that comes out on the paper. Like, I appreciate your patience in me getting back to you instead of being like, I'm so sorry, I was busy and I was out of town. And it's like, you have to apologize for having a life if you are a business owner because you're not available 24/7. Like, thank you for your patience. Or, something in the way that you talk about that. I'm going to have to find that and I'll post that on our Facebook group. But it was so good. And like, I never even really thought about that. And that's something that I really teach to my girls too. Like every time something happens, it is like, it's so magical to watch the dynamics between boys and girls. Because if they run into somebody or just like stupid stuff, like they just say, I can't even think of an example right off the top of my head, but it's like, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Or I'm like, go brush your teeth. They're like, oh, sorry, I haven't done that yet. And I'm like, what are you apologizing for? That was the first time I told you to go brush your teeth, or like, hey, everybody's got to pick up shoes here. And instead of just going and picking them up, like the girls will instantly say, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I'm sorry. And I'm like, stop. What did you do wrong? Like, an apology, I'm sorry, is like an apology when you are acknowledging that you have made a mistake or that you stepped over something that you should have paid attention to or something like that, But it's this, like, we talk so much as women in our heads about how we have to like fix things to be perfect all of the time. No one is perfect all the time. And we hold ourselves to the standard that we feel like we're constantly apologizing for being humans. And we have a lot of crap going on. If you're a mom and you're a business owner, if you're a mom and you're even working, there are things that you come home, you're thinking about kids and all this stuff at work. When you're at home, you're thinking about all this work stuff. Give yourself some damn grace and
Yeah,
just stop
for real.
apologizing for everything. And that's where I think the beauty of what we have this warped perception of balance is that this is a dance. We are dancing through life. Some days you're going to be dancing more at work. Some days you're going to be dancing more at home. Some days you get to just check out and dance by yourself if you're lucky, but it's all
Friday
a
night,
dance.
that's
And
when
it's
I
a
do that.
beautiful,
I go
yes,
dancing Friday night, literally.
it's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. So if you are, I often will hear women say, "Oh, that's challenging." And I know you have a baby too, which makes it even more challenging, but
It's the
it is
easy
even
one.
those little 7 minutes of going for a walk, or lock yourself in the bathroom for 7 minutes and read something that you want to, you know?
Yeah. And I
Sometimes that's the sacred spot that everybody just leaves you alone, you know? Find your spot and just like, if you have to, it's okay to go somewhere and just, it
just
doesn't have to be grand. You don't have to go get your nails done to care for yourself. You can read
no, and
3 pages out
that's
of
the
a book
thing is
and
I
care
think
for
that a lot of
yourself.
people go, oh, self-care is like getting your hair and your, I'm like, that is not what women care about. Can we stop that? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe we do to some extent. Like, yeah, I want my hair to not look like garbage forever. But like when I'm talking about like caring for myself, I'm like, I just want a moment where I'm not being bombarded with requests. That to me, that is a way to care for, like that I take care of myself in that regard. And it is hard because you want to help everybody. And I think that we're scared as women that if we don't take care of everybody that needs anything that's on fire and we don't put out those fires, that our perception of who we are will be somehow damaged. Like the image that we portray will be. And that is like a big whole different thing that we could go into. But it's, I think so much of it is we're just scared of people thinking of us a certain way, and we've got to stop it. We just got to stop it.
We've got to stop thinking that this I don't even know what word to use, but other than like perfectionism status, like we all have to reach this pinnacle of perfectionism, and it doesn't exist. I tell my
Yeah.
kids that all the time. Like my son is really kind of OCD like his mama, and he's like, "Oh, I want it to be perfect. It's perfect."
Yeah.
He calls it perfect, perfect all the time. And I'm like, "Baby, nothing is perfect." You know, like do done is better than perfect, you know, and a lot of us get hung up on these things. Like, throw it out there. You can perfect it, if you will, in massive air quotes, as you go along. You know, we get stuck in this like, well, if we can't be all of it, then we're going to be none of it. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of us are like that. Like, I'm going to go on a diet on Monday and then I eat a cupcake on Tuesday. Well, I'll start again next Monday. Why don't you just start after you eat the cupcake? You know, like it's like those just silly little things that we look at. What is apparently acceptable as a woman is perfection, and it's not. The
Mhm.
beauty lays in the cracks.
Yeah. And I think so much of like, so this is the one good thing I could say, the pandemic, I'm not going to say it was a good thing. One good thing that I think that did come from that is that a lot of people were thrown into situations, men and women, where their families were around, where things were going on in the background and they didn't have a perfect image portrayed on Zoom. And we all
Mhm.
just realized that we all have lives and
Yeah.
we don't have to apologize for that. Like we don't, I think it's really dumb that we think that work has to be this polished, perfect thing all the time, because that's not that's just not sustainable. Like we can't do that. And it's not good. You'll be miserable. That's where you were, right? Like where you're just doing everything where you can't like have anything imperfect or anything like real enter into your work world. Like, ooh, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure.
And
Yeah.
extremely upsetting because it's never going to stay that
No.
way. So,
I do. I mean, I feel like I do tell my clients, all my clients know that my kids are part of my life, and it's possible that there might be a little mascot that runs in the back of a screen from here and every once
yep.
in a while. And so it's like, and if that's not something that they are comfortable with, then there's going to be another bookkeeper that's going to be a better fit for them. It's just not me. And I think that not apologizing for obviously do your job and do great work. I'm not saying to not do that, but just because you have things going on in your life doesn't mean you don't. And I think
That's a connection point too.
Tear down. Oh, what?
That's a connection point too. Because I know that you work with primarily women too, and it is refreshing to be able to say, I have this going on, my son, if he thinks I'm on a Zoom call, he's got to pop his head in just to see, And I love that. I got to the point with all of that happening. Like, I don't apologize for that anymore. Like, say hi, bud.
I really believe, and that women, especially women like moms, I feel like we're one of the most under what's the word I'm looking for? I had it a second ago, but basically like people don't think that we're as capable as we are, and underestimated. That's the one. We're just really underestimated. And I'm like, man, moms, they juggle so much. Like, that's the kind of person I want on my team. That's the kind of person that I want to work with, because I don't know very many men that juggle that many things and do it well. Nothing against men. I mean, my husband jumps in and does all the things, and he's so supportive. He helps with laundry and dishes and the kids, like he's involved, but there's an element of just like your mind never turns off and you just go, like you can get stuff done. And I think moms are just a workforce and a force to be reckoned with, quite frankly. And I think we're all underestimated.
Yep. And I truly feel like moms are a huge asset to your team too, if you're building a team, because I think a lot of the times why they're underestimated is because it's done in silence. And a mother's love is a genuine love that doesn't need to be, did you see that I did your laundry for you today, Cash? Did you see that I did this for you? We do that out of an act and service of love. And I feel like that translates beautifully inside of a workplace too, because when you're working with people that you enjoy working with, that just carries over into the workplace too. So where I think in years past, it may have been looked at like, oh, she's got small kids. I don't know, that could be a huge asset for your team, because that woman knows how to juggle some shit. Like you're going to be my favorite or that.
It's just, I was even talking to a woman today who told me that, about her journey in corporate blah, 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 and how she'd actually had been laid off, and because she had kids, and obviously that's not legal. And, there's other things about that, but it's just messed up. And I think that as a business owner, you have the choice to surround yourself with people that value that and value you for who you are. And that is powerful. That is empowering.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more.
And you're one of those people. I love having you in my circle.
Well, thank you very much. You're a huge asset to anybody in this community that needs a resource, needs a bookkeeper, needs some help with things. She's hugely beneficial in the education part of stuff. Reach out to Tiffany. She is in our Facebook group with questions about stuff. I would welcome you to share with the community if you have tips and tricks and things like that could help them out.
I mean, you can always reach out. I mean, I may not even be the best fit for you if you're looking for a bookkeeper, but I can help you find someone that is.
That's a fantastic thing too. That is a massive value and asset as part of your business to be able to do that. So at the end of every one of these podcasts, this has been such a great conversation. I've just loved catching up with you today.
No, it's been so good.
A big reason why I started Ladies Kicking Ass and why we have this community and the development of fun stuff that's coming up here is truly finding and surrounding yourself with those women that inspire you, can help you, are great mentors for you, or that you just love being around and you share those common interests. So my biggest question at the end of this podcast is, what does community mean and look like to you?
Wow. Community, what does it mean? And what is it? I mean, people that get you, people that see you for who you are, and that are willing to support you, period. Point blank. And, when they're willing to celebrate with you, they're willing to work through the difficult stuff with you, help you figure out problems. I have an amazing community of other bookkeepers. And my favorite thing about it is that we do not see each other as competition. We are, it's a group made up of both men and women, but there's like a subgroup of just moms that are doing this. And it's the most supportive community I've ever been in. And we're all in the same industry. So you would think in a corporate setting, these are people that be pitting against each other and we are so much better together. We can support one another. We can help one another figure problems out. And we know that's just operating. We operate from a mindset of abundance. Like there's enough business out there for all of us. So community, I feel like, is just those people that are willing to be with you in it and support you and celebrate, and also, be with you through the hard, difficult parts of it. So that's community for me. And I'm grateful that I have it.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And if you are finding yourself in lack of a community of people that can help you get to where you want to go, you can always reach out to our Ladies Kicking Ass community. And if that's not the right community for you, keep looking, because you can find them everywhere. You can find them if you want to meet them in person. You can find a million of them online if you want to. I love like those good old Facebook ads. It's like it has all the people playing the kazoos, and it's like the Facebook group for kazoo players. And you're like,
there is like a group for everything.
There is a group for everything. So you have to search out for that, because it does exist. And it's a beautiful thing when people come together. We are across you're in Maryland, I'm in Arizona. We're clear across the United States from each other, but have been able to build a really awesome friendship and a really awesome business relationship working with each other. And it's just, your network can be global at this point.
Sure, especially now. And I think that it's really important to keep in mind that like attracts like, right? So if you're putting this out into the marketplace, and you're putting this out, like, you're going to find your people, and don't settle for less than that.
Sure. And it doesn't happen overnight. So keep trying until you find what you want. And if you can't find it, create it. And that's how it all starts anyways, from all this stuff.
Here we are.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put all of your links and all that good stuff in the show notes, so everybody can get a hold of you if they would like to. Again, she is part of our Facebook group at Ladies Kicking Ass. So if you want to reach out to her on there too, she is on there. And thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're so fun. Woman. This is so fun.
It's so fun. And you're going to help so many ladies today with your information. So thank you for being generous to share that.
Well, you inspire me. Thank you for keeping me in your circle. And
always.
One of these days I'll get out. We'll either come over to the East Coast, or I'll get out to Arizona and we'll get that cup of coffee or that margarita.
We're going to make it happen for sure. For sure. If we're that far away, we can have coffee and then a margarita. So
there you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tiffany.
Thanks so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Ladies Kicking Ass podcast. I hope you loved it. Hey, if you got a lot out of today's show and you think a friend of yours may love it too, please do me a really quick favor. Screenshot the episode, post it, tag us at Ladies Kicking Ass, or share the link to the episode. I'm here to help and support as many ladies as I can, and your generosity in sharing the show means the world to me. Don't forget, hit subscribe to be notified of all newly released episodes, and leaving the show a 5-star review is the ultimate expression of love for our team. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the podcast, I would so love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook and we'll chat further. Thank you for being part of our tribe, and until next time, go kick some ass, lady.